Good evening, everybody. Hope everyone is doing well and has had a fabulous Memorial Day weekend. Welcome to the Every Dot Black Mastermind meeting. I am the MC. My name is Camille Richardson. And this evening, we are going to do the short video that describes what exactly is Every Dot Black and talks about its inception. And then after that, I will give the purpose for Every Dot Black and the benefits of joining a mastermind meeting. And then we will have our book reading by Miss Michelle Hill this evening. And after that, we will have our announcements and we will have our tech talk. And then we will have our guest speaker. No, we have our scripture and then we'll have our guest speaker. And then we will wrap up for the evening. So that is just a brief agenda of how the meeting is going to run. And now, Jimmy, if you will play the video, we will go ahead and get started.
All right. I grew up in Flint, Michigan during the 60s, and I remember as a child the civil rights movement. And I remember as family would huddle around this black and white TV and watch all of the things that were going on in Alabama and Mississippi. Some of my cousins, older cousins, were active in the movement, and every Sunday we would have a large Sunday dinner with the extended family. And they would come back on Sundays and they would tell us about all the things they'd seen and done. And as a child, about 8 or 9 years old, I always wanted to grow up and be a part of that. But by the time I became of age, it was all over. All of the marching was done. I always felt left out, that I didn't get a chance to participate in the civil rights movement. But little did I know that God had another plan for me as a computer instructor and database developer. We as a people had to overcome slavery and secondly, obtain our civil rights, being able to eat in any restaurant or stay in any hotel that we wanted. But the third piece is economic equality. I'm convinced that to achieve economic equality, it has to be through entrepreneurship. And we must use technology and a strategy of global networking. And that's why I created Every Dot Black, to use my 30 years of experience as a computer instructor and database developer to use technology to promote our members. We do it in a wide variety of ways. Of course, we list them on the website. We list our members in a directory that is downloadable from the website and our podcast, and distribute it at trade shows and other events. We constantly promote our members on social media and weekly email blast. Our social media followers and recipients of our email blast numbers in the tens of thousands. With over 30 podcast shows that air weekly, we reach people around the world, educating them about every aspect of becoming an entrepreneur. Where you can be interviewed on one of our podcasts or join Every Dot Black and have your own podcast. We have a complete package of services catered specifically for the entrepreneur. And last, we conduct weekly mastermind meetings where we read positive books and learn about entrepreneurship while networking with like-minded individuals. Just go to www.every.black to register for our weekly mastermind meetings. And that's what Every Dot Black is all about. Whether it's through mastermind meetings, providing the members with more exposure through social media and email blast, interviewing the members on podcast, and even providing them with their own podcast. We also make it very affordable for anyone to join, from a basic listing to a bronze, silver, or gold membership. So visit us at every.black. Sign up today. Just go to every.black, every.black. No .com, no .net. Just every.black. .black is the new .com.
All right. So now we are going to talk about the mission of Every Dot Black. I'm going to talk about the mission of Every Dot Black. To assist people to create wealth through entrepreneurship. And how do we do that, you ask? Well, we do that through our membership. And if you have a membership, you're featured on the online directory, and you're also promoted on all social media outlets and in the email blast. We also educate people about entrepreneurship through the many podcasts that can be found on entrepreneurship.black. And the best way is through the mastermind meetings, which take place every Monday evening at 8 o'clock Eastern time, right here on Zoom. So now we're going to also talk about the benefits of attending a mastermind meeting or being a part of a mastermind. to discover solutions and ideas through brainstorming. When we come together, we are able to work collectively on different ideas that we may have for our companies. And you're also able to tap into the knowledge and skills of others. You can benefit through this by being able to discuss with people the different experiences that they may have had, and you are also able to have confidence if you know somebody who's been through the same journey of entrepreneurship that you have. Attending a mastermind meeting also gives you a sense of accountability. I call that positive peer pressure, because when you come here, you want to be able to have a praise report for the wins that have happened in your company. It develops a sense of family. You're not alone. Sometimes being an entrepreneur, you can feel like you are on an island. So whenever you attend these meetings, you have a family. You've got other people who are walking the same walk as you. And the best thing is it gives you a positive attitude to keep you going throughout the week, which is something that is so very, very necessary as an entrepreneur. And you attend these mastermind meetings and you're able to just get that little boost of energy that you needed to kind of keep you going. So the specific purpose is twofold. As I stated earlier, we are able to tap into valuable networks, and we also read positive books. Usually we have Miss Deborah Wright, but this evening we have Miss Michelle Hill, who will be reading the S.B. Fuller book for us. We've been reading this for the past few weeks. Very, very powerful book. If you don't have it, I highly suggest you get it. And Miss Michelle Hill, I'm going to go ahead and turn the floor over to you.
Hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead. Go ahead,
Okay.
Michelle.
A Negro businessman speaks his mind. With racial demonstrations now spreading across the nation, solve the Negro's problem? Is the Negro actually a second-class citizen? If so, who is to blame? The white man? You get unexpected answers to these and other questions from a leading Negro businessman. He is S.B. Fuller, interviewed in Chicago by a member of the staff of U.S. News and World Report. His conclusions? A Negro, like anybody else, can get ahead only by hard work and enterprise. At Chicago, question, Mr. Fuller, are the doors of opportunity closed to the Negro in America today? His answer, no, I don't think so. The Negro has the same rights that other people have in America. In what way do you mean? He has a right to vote, start a business for himself, find a job, providing there is anyone he can sell his service to, but he has to learn to use those rights. Did you find it possible to get ahead? Yes, indeed. I left Louisiana at the age of 15 years with a 6th grade education. My people moved to Memphis, Tennessee, and we lived there for 8 years. Then I hitchhiked my way to Chicago. I got a job here and found out that I could not get ahead working for somebody else. In 1935, I had $25 and took the $25 and bought some soap and started selling soap from door to door. And from that $25, it developed into this business today. Did you find racial barriers difficult? SB says no, because I sold my people my own product. Question, do you have markets in the South? We have markets in the South for the colored only. We do not now have any markets in the South where we sell to whites, but we have gained white customers in the North. Has that market grown much in recent years? Yes, it has a constant growth. We continue to buy out other companies. If we find a white company having financial problems, we buy it out. Then we keep the white employees and add to the colored payroll. How many employees do you have altogether? We have on our direct payroll about 600 employees. How many of those are white? About 20% of them are white. And in the door-to-door selling, we have about 3,000 people selling, and about 500 of those are white. Is there any friction? Do white persons seem to resent working for you? No, the white people here are talking integration more than the colored people. What do you mean by that? In our organization, the white people are very sensitive about being treated as inferior. They are more concerned about discrimination than the Negroes are. One thing I find in my organization is this: if I don't watch very closely, the Negro bosses here will discriminate and hire all Negroes and no whites. I'm constantly watching them to see that they hire people on their merit and not on the color of their skin. Would you say then that racial discrimination is found among all races? It is a universal human trait, and people use it, if they can do so, at a profit. When it becomes unprofitable, they forget. Here in our organization, it pays the white people not to discriminate against the Negro, and they don't. But the Negroes will discriminate against the white people because they are trying to get the white people out of some of these well-paying jobs and put Negroes in them. In what way do they try this? If a white person applies for a job, and if the Negro supervisor can get away with it, he will not hire him. He'll hire another Negro. We try to hire according to merit. I only know one race, the human race. In general, what do you think is the answer to the race problem in this country? Well, the problem is one the Negro has to work out himself. Negroes are not discriminated against because of the color of their skin. They are discriminated against because they have nothing to offer that people want to buy. The minute they can develop themselves so they excel in whatever they do, then they are going to find they don't have any real problems. An example is baseball. There was discrimination in the big leagues, but when the owners of the big leagues found out that Negroes could play just as well as whites, discrimination in the big leagues ended as far as Negro players are concerned. Is there any justification then for Negro complaints about their lot in life? They have some legitimate complaints, but not very many. They will find that you cannot sue a man and make him want to live next door to you. You've got to sell him the idea that you are just as good as he is by performance. You must perform well in your job. You must train your youngsters. You must keep your community as clean as the white man's community. You must keep up the home as well as he does. If the Negro has not done these things, why is that? I don't think that Negroes have been taught enough concerning this. Remember this, the Negroes have been free for 100 years, but during that time, the white man has not told Negroes the truth. He has always taught the Negroes that they were at a disadvantage. He never told Negroes that they should do business for themselves, that they should clean up their own community, and that they should accept community responsibility. They never told him this in plain English, nor has the white man told Negroes what the white people say about the Negro when the Negro is not present. This is what they should start doing, telling Negroes in their presence what they say about them in their absence. Do you mean mention the unfavorable comments about Negroes? Yes, if it's bad, then tell them. Are the racial demonstrations doing any good? The demonstrations have made the white man know that the Negroes are dissatisfied, but he knew that in the first place. Beyond that, I don't think they have done any good. In fact, they have done harm in the picture they give of Negroes. Will the demonstrations continue, do you think? Oh, they will go on as long as they get publicity from it. When they don't get any publicity, they will die out. I don't think the demonstrations will go on as much as 18 months longer. Do Martin Luther King and others speak for the Negro people? No, they speak for certain small groups of people. If they were speaking for the Negro people as a whole, you'd find more Negroes demonstrating and sitting in. As it is, those who are demonstrating and sitting in are a very small minority. Are the Black Muslims really important in the Negro community? No, they are not. The Black Muslims have a very small organization. It is tightly organized and its members are loyal to their cause, but their membership is very small. Why is it that we hear so much about the frustrations of the Negro? It is because they have been played up so much on the television, on the radio, and in the newspapers. Do you ever hear of militant Negroes calling you an Uncle Tom? No, Negro calls me an Uncle Tom. No Negro calls me an Uncle Tom. He can't call me Uncle Tom because I employ white people, and Uncle Tom never employed any white people. What are the charge of some militant Negroes that Negro moderates are subservient to whites? I think that this is very dangerous. It is an attempt to muzzle free speech. I think that every man should have a right to his own opinion. I may disagree with him, but I defend his right to say it. There are more moderates than we hear of, but some are afraid to give their opinion. They are being muzzled. They are somewhat fearful of speaking out. Do you find any other Negro businessmen getting ahead in the same way you did? I find a few, but I don't think that enough Negroes are doing so because no one has sat down and told them of the possibilities of doing something for themselves. What about the argument that it is the white man or society that is to blame for the Negro's problems? The crimes that you find in Harlem, for instance, are caused by the people of Harlem, and it's nobody's fault but that of the people of Harlem. I came from a very poor family, and in those days, there was not the crime that you have today. When I was a boy, they kept us busy doing something. Today, it's hard to find a boy in Harlem to sell newspapers. Do most Negroes, in your opinion, want integration? I think that Negroes want integration, but not as the white man thinks they want it. In what way do they want it? I think Negroes want to know that they have the opportunity to go wherever they want to and live wherever they want to live. Whether they go there or not, they want the privilege of going there. Once this is obtained, do you think Negroes then would tend to stay together? They would. They would follow their own patterns. Do Negroes today have the same ambition in life as white people do? They have the same ambition in life that white people have, but they don't know how to go about satisfying that ambition. They think they can succeed by working for other people. The thing is, if all the white people worked for someone else, then the white people would not be in the position that they are in today. Will Negroes work just as hard as anybody else to get ahead in spite of all obstacles? They will, once they have been shown the way. You see, Negro people do not understand that they must own their own businesses. They must give jobs, not just ask for jobs. They have as much right to employ the white man as the white man has to employ them. They must remember that everyone is born with a spark of divinity, but it's up to the individual to fan that spark. Is getting ahead in business and industry then an essential part of the Negro's progress? It really is the essential part. I think there is no other road that leads to progress. Let me say this. Negro people spend about $23 billion annually in America. If they controlled 80% of this $23 billion, that would be about $18 billion. Now let's say that they had about 10% profit. That would be $1.8 billion as capital that they would have to work with every year. This would be power in their hands. And two things are power in America: the vote and the dollar. Has there ever been, in your knowledge, any race that has gotten ahead in the world without this ability in business and industry? No, I never heard of any racial group in this country or any other country that was able to get ahead without participating in business. Are there Negroes supplying the Negro market for clothing and for food that you know of? A few. Are there Negro automobile dealers? Not that I know of. Are there Negro construction men builders? Very few. Why are some of the other successful Negro businessmen like yourself? Or who are they? Well, John H. Johnson here in Chicago, he's a very successful magazine publisher. There are a number of Negroes in the insurance business. And we'll stop there for tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, Michelle, for filling in for Deborah. And for the masterminds on the call, she's reading the S.B. Fuller book. And we actually, if you want a copy of the book or want to order the book, we can help you do that after the meeting. I'll get you in touch with actually Joe Dudley Sr. to actually purchase the book if you want a copy. But I think she started on page 96 and read that portion. Also, think about this. If you have any questions or comments, please raise your hand or take yourself off mute. And while you're thinking about that, I just want to say too, if you have to think about the time, and actually someone may want to put themselves on mute if you're not actually talking. We've got some feedback going on with someone. But anyway, you have to think about at the time, this was in 1963. And this interview, this single interview, was really kind of a turning point in S.B. Fuller's business, because he actually offended quite a few people. So I don't know, open it. Anyone have any thoughts about what you heard?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. And again, if you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute.
Okay, this is Jackie Bowens out of Fayetteville, North Carolina. And it sounded as if Mr. Fuller was saying early on when he was talking about blacks and whites, that blacks didn't have sense enough to know how to do anything because whites haven't taught them. That was offensive. And I was surprised he would say something like that, along with some other stuff he said. He said some positive things, but that right there got me. Unless I heard it wrong, it sounded just like he was saying blacks didn't have enough sense to know how to act because whites haven't taught them what to do. Like we couldn't figure out how to carry ourselves or do anything unless the white man told us.
Yeah, I don't know if he said the white person told him, but I think he said unless they were shown. I think that's the phrase.
Same difference.
Unless they were shown.
Same difference. I was offended by that. That was just, I'm surprised he said something like that. That's all I have to say.
Okay. Anyone else? Again, if you're not speaking, please put yourself on mute. We're getting a lot of background noise.
Hi.
Hi. Go ahead.
Okay. So this is Shaw, and when he spoke about our people not being shown, it really was heartbreaking to me because coming out of, I still think, we're traumatized people after slavery. I mean, we carry that pain in our DNA, and, in some ways, we're just such a walking wounded people. We're survivors, I know that, but we're in this new land. Some of us don't know much about our history, and the truth is, we don't know what we don't know, but what we don't know can hinder us, and so it does take a lot of courage to say, you guys, we're not being shown, but it also takes a lot more courage to say, well, let me show you how I did it. And I'm really looking forward to just learning how to do it because I see the pain and I see our power also. So thank you so much.
Sure thing. Thanks for the comments.
Hello, this is
hi there.
Oh, sorry.
Okay. That's okay. Hi there. This is Carol Small, and excuse my apron. I was still cooking. But the way I took it, I didn't take offense to it. Maybe because I'm also thinking that in 1963, there was still nearly 100 years of Black intelligentsia, Black academia, Black scholars, Black business people that could have really made a bigger difference in Black communities by taking people aside, maybe as far as like groups like this is concerned, and kind of tutoring them, mentoring them on business ownership and entrepreneurship. And maybe some of those folks, which I truly believe this happened, fell down on that job. People had a tendency to, once they maybe graduate from college, they were a doctor, they kind of isolated themselves and hung out, with a different group rather than going back to the neighborhood and raising people up as far as economics are concerned. That's the way I took it. I did not take offense to him saying that because I believe it's true. I believe that, when we get to a certain level, sometimes we don't go back and enrich the community. So I just wanted to say I didn't take offense at that.
Okay. Well, I think Bonzel Sawyer had a comment, and then we're going to move on. Did you have something to say, Mr. Sawyer?
Yeah, thank you, Jimmy. I was just going to say I think one of the tough things, as I've kind of done some studying myself and just come to the realization that I think SB Fuller just was able to jump to where actionable things could take place to actually move the needle forward for Black people in business. And I think many other minds of that time, all in later in life, came to many of the same conclusions that he did, that there had to take place some economic activity from an ownership standpoint and delivery that made the difference. So I could see where it could have been offensive, but truly, if you keep studying, you end up there, that unless you're a part of working in the system from an ownership type perspective, you will still have that same argument over and over again. But once you do that, it tends to move you forward. So I just think that he could see it so clear, and it just was tough for many others to see that he really did understand what he was talking about. So I appreciate everybody listening.
Well, thank you all for your comments. Because of time, we're going to move on. What we do is we have our program from 8 to 9, and then at 9 o'clock, we have a networking hour so that you can also share information or any other additional discussion. But what I'm going to ask you also to do is please put your phone or your computer on mute if you're not actually speaking. So put yourself on mute. Now, if you're familiar with Zoom, you can actually raise your hand. There's a little icon that you can raise your hand. If you're not familiar with that, we've actually have some classes going to be teaching people how to use Zoom and some other technology as well. And also, we want to ask you to please hold your questions until after the presenter is finished this evening. She'll be glad to answer any questions you have, but please hold any questions you have until after she's finished. And then the last thing I'm just going to ask you is that when you do speak, please say your name and your location so we'll know who you are and where you are so we can all get to know one another. But what I'm going to do is tell you a little bit about Every.Black, and then we're going to do some tech tips, and then we're going to get into our speaker for the evening. But the way I describe Every.Black is it's basically a website where people can join. We offer a 30-day free trial, but it's a membership site so that once they join, we include them in the membership directory. We share any announcements that our members have through our own weekly email blast that goes out to over 6,000 people. And now we also share any announcements that our members have on our social media on a daily basis that goes out to over 7,000. And then this year, last few months, we've actually started weekly technology training every Friday for the members to bring them up to speed on not only Zoom. Like this past month, we've been working on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, YouTube Live with Patreon, which is podcasting. And then next month, we're going to really be focusing on podcasting. And then we're also looking at LinkedIn Live. But basically, we're just working on technology training for the members every Friday. So it's one of the benefits of being a part of Every.Black. We also have a podcast, the Every.Black Entrepreneur Podcast Network, where we have shows airing every day of the week, hosted by the members of Every.Black. They create the shows and we put them on a podcast revolving around entrepreneurship. A few weeks ago, we developed a calendar, a monthly calendar, and we'll be doing that each month so people can see what's going on for the month and the future speakers that we have. And we already have the month of June filled with some really dynamic speakers coming your way. So we'll be getting that calendar out within the next few days. June is almost here. And then we also have, we call it Every.Black/network, because we realize you may not know the other people on the call. We're getting people calling in or registering now from literally all over the country, from California to New York to Florida to Atlanta to Chicago, Illinois to Florida, Texas, Atlanta. So we're getting people from all over Philadelphia, New York, and another few places. So what we're doing is if you go to Every.Black network, you can actually fill out that form and we'll help get you in touch with other entrepreneurs from around the country to help you network with others. And then we also added a page recently on every.black/COVID-19 for helping you manage your business during this time, and also for resources when funds were available, whether federal funds or local funds. Anything we hear about, we put it on there to share with the public on every.black/COVID-19. So, and then the other thing is I want to mention is that we have a special relationship with Lafayette Jones and Sandra Miller Jones, who actually is our speaker for this evening. And he authors a column in the OTC Beauty magazine. This is a national publication. And so what we do is we submit our members to see if they can be approved to be in this national publication. And Dr. Herbert Harris, you can see he's one of the members. But I chose this particular issue for tonight, to show tonight, because it also highlights Andrea Harris. And some of you from the North Carolina area, I'm sure, are aware that she passed away a few days ago. And she was really, did so much to help so many in the field of business over the decades. So we pulled that issue to highlight her in the OTC Beauty magazine. If anyone's interested in being in this, one, we need a nice headshot of you, a nice profile headshot. We need a profile bio, of 400 words or less to describe what you are, who you are and what you're doing. And then the other thing is we have to show some connection to the beauty industry, and we can submit it. We don't have, I can't guarantee you'll be in, but we can submit it if we get those things from you. So what we're going to do also is we're doing a tech talk, or I shouldn't say tech talk. Tech tips is what I call it, every.black tech tips. And what I thought I'd do is share a story with you. You know, right now we're going through the 2020 census, but in the year 1890, they were doing this, they do the census every year, the national federal government. But by 1897, they realized that the country had grown so much that they could not count all the people by the year 1900. 1900 would have been up, and there would have been time to start counting people again before they had the 1890 census already counted. So what they did, they made a contest of it and said, is there anyone that can come up with a way to count the population of people faster than 10 years? And so there were 3 finalists, and one of the finalists, and actually the person that won, his name was Herman Hollerith. And he came up with a system to use punch cards. And the way that they did is when they would take the census, they would literally take, it was a card, and they would punch holes in the cards depending on how many people were in the household or the types of information that they wanted to, the age and the other information they were recording for the census. And then he had a punch card reader that would quickly read the responses and keep a running total of the answers. Well, he won the competition, and within 6 weeks, he had completed the entire 1890 census with his punch card system. Well, because that was such a success, a lot of businesses started, using his services, using his equipment that he had created to tabulate totals. And in 1896, he created the tabulation company, and I've got something in front of my screen, I can see it. But he also, in 1911, he merged with 2 other companies called the Computing Tabulation Company. And then in 1924, they changed their name to International Business Machines, or IBM. So that was how IBM got started. The reason I wanted to share that story is 2 things. One, we're at the end of the census right now. But the other thing is that there was a change in the world at that time. And they turned to technology to answer the question, to find the solution. We've got changes going on right now. which is why we're all on this call tonight, because we used to meet face to face. And it's just my personal belief that those that can embrace the technology and learn more about it and how to use it for their businesses will be successful. So I just wanted to bring that up to encourage you to do that. I'm going to go through one other thing here, and I'm looking at the time. I'm going to run through this really quickly, but because I want to share one other tidbit of information about technology. The computer uses zeros and ones. Each 0 or 1 is called a bit, and 8 bits makes a byte. Okay. Now, the order of those zeros and ones determines what that information is. It could be a letter. You change one of those zeros or ones, and you've got a different letter. And actually, half of a byte is called a nibble. It's called a nibble. But what I want to show you is that 1 byte is equal to 8 bits. 1 kilobyte is equal to 1,024 bytes. 1 megabyte is equal to 1,024 kilobytes. 1 gigabyte is 1,024 megabytes. And 1 terabyte is 1,024 gigabytes. Just to give you some context, text does not take up a lot of space. A photograph at 72 dpi, 72 dpi means how many pixels make up that photograph. And it's a lower quality photograph versus a higher quality photograph. And again, I'm just showing you approximately how much space, and you can see that audio takes up more space and video takes up the most amount of space. So why do you need to know this? I'm sharing this with you because if you're buying a computer or a smartphone or a tablet, and they start talking about how much storage space you have, or if you want to send an email document and the email document is over 10 megabytes, it probably is not going to go through, depending on the email service. Or if you use some online services for storage, like Google Drive or freeconferencecall.com, which gives you a 1 gigabyte storage capacity. So it just gives you some context about the amount of space you may need for the work you do. If you're into video or photography, you're going to need more. If you're into maybe just texting or web surfing the web, you won't need as much. So I just wanted to share that with you. At this time, we'd like to bring on Ms. Sandra Miller Jones.
Thank you so much, Jimmy. I do appreciate being here with you this evening. It has been just a privilege to know you and to work with you over the past several years now. And I'm especially grateful to have a chance to talk with a group of entrepreneurs. I have so much respect for entrepreneurs. Having been in business now for almost 40 years, I know the ups and downs that we all are going through, and especially right now. Many of you have been reading the news about how many folks are unemployed now, and it looks like there are well over 36 million people unemployed in the United States. That was the figure in the middle of this month, and it continues to rise. Of course, as usual, African Americans have a greater burden to bear than most other folk. Our unemployment number is about almost 17% unemployment among African Americans in the US, exceeded only by Hispanics, who are almost 19%. The unemployment rates vary very much from state to state. It's as low as 8% in Connecticut and as high as 28% in Nevada. North Carolina is about in the middle of that. We're about 12.2% unemployment overall. But the really sad part, and the part that hits us tremendously, is that nearly 40% of the households that earn under $40,000 a year have at least one person unemployed in their household. So that's a lot of the folk that we know, our neighbors, our friends, our family. And of those people who are unemployed, at least half of them have lost their employee health insurance. that figure is expected to rise also over the next year. And we're looking at probably 40 million people who will be losing health insurance during this pandemic situation. Jimmy? The good news is, for many of them, is that Obamacare has provisions in that law that may enable many of these unemployed, recently unemployed folks to be able to get health insurance at an affordable rate. I'm going to tell you more about Obamacare and how you can obtain more information about it. But first, I'd like to just tell you a little about our company, because one of the things that we've been doing over the years is trying to help people to live healthier lifestyles. Jimmy? Over this 40 years, we started off our company in Chicago, Illinois, and we were there in Chicago for about 12 years with the company. Then in 1990, we decided to come back to North Carolina, where my parents were and where Lafayette's parents moved so that we could be with our families. Over these 40 years, we have reached out to communities across the nation, and we've built teams of folk who are trying to also do outreach into their communities. In the top, now it's 35 cities. It had 30 markets on this slide, but now we're at 35. We do a number of things. We distribute free product samples, for example. We've distributed millions of free product samples throughout our communities across the nation. And we have distributed information as well. Jimmy, if you'll go. We worked for all sorts of clients, large and a few small, but mainly national brands who have an interest in reaching out to our community. And in the last, 20 years now, we focused very heavily on partnering with clients who have an interest in improving the health of our community. You see Aetna as one of those clients, and just about all of the clients that are outlined here have done things or have a mission as part of their mission to help improve the health of our communities. Jimmy? We've built networks of churches, beauty salons, barbershops, entertainment venues, other kinds of networks, senior networks, to help us to reach the families and individuals that could benefit from the services and products that we provide. We can reach, oh my goodness, my last count was 6.8 million households through our networks. And that enables us to reach at least half of the African American or Hispanic households in any major market that you choose. Jimmy? One of the ways in which we distribute information is through a custom publication that my husband and business partner, Sandra Jones, and his team developed and continue to develop and distribute for a number of clients. I guess we've done more than 50 of these for various clients across our 40 years. Urban Call is the name of the publication, and you'll see there that our emphasis continues to be healthy living every day. Jimmy? Here is an Urban Call publication that we are distributing now that talks about ACA, the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare. Jimmy? To help you understand the Affordable Care Act, I want to just give you a few details. Jimmy? First of all, the Affordable Care Act is the law. It is sometimes called Obamacare. It was signed into law in 2010, and it continues to be the law. Jimmy? There are benefits to Obamacare insurance or Affordable Care Act insurance that many people do not know. If, for example, if you have a child or dependent who is under 26 and who is on your income tax return, they can stay on your insurance until they are 26 years old. Doesn't matter whether they're married, doesn't matter if they're in school, as long as they're part of your income tax return, you can keep them on your insurance. Also, Obamacare demands that you get free care, no cost to you, for preventive care. So you can get your annual physical, mammogram, colonoscopy, all at no cost to you, and other preventive services as well. Your immunizations at no cost. During this pandemic, if there are immunizations that you have to have, or when they come up with a vaccine, and we are praying that that'll be soon, those will be at no cost to people who have ACA insurance. There was a time when insurance companies could put you off of their insurance if your costs got too high. Cancer patients, for example, the cost could really run into millions of dollars to care for a cancer patient. And there were times when after the cost reached about $2 million, insurance companies would discontinue your insurance. That can't happen anymore, not under the Affordable Care Act. Also, if you have a pre-existing condition, you cannot be excluded from getting insurance just because of that. Even if you're in a hospital right now, you can still sign up for Obamacare, because no pre-existing conditions can be considered as people insure individuals and families. Your policy cannot be canceled for anything except fraud or non-payment. If you don't pay your premium, of course, the insurance company can cancel your policy. Or if you misled the insurance company when you got the insurance, then there can be a cancellation, but nothing else. Jimmy? Obamacare also helped to ensure that there are essential services that must be provided with every insurance policy. Prescription drug coverage, for example, has to be provided with every insurance policy. Laboratory services. If you have children, children must have oral and vision care included in your policy. Now, the oral and vision care, dental, which is of course oral, and vision is not included in adult policies, but for children, yes, it is included. And so these 10 essential benefits, many of which were not included in many insurance policies previous to Obamacare, now must be included. Jimmy? Obamacare enables people to get help paying for their health care, help paying for your premiums, help paying for your doctors. This help comes in the form of subsidies. These subsidies are provided by the federal government. The policies that are provided to people getting subsidies are the exact same policies that you get if you were to buy directly from the company. In North Carolina, for example, over the past couple of years, only Blue Cross and Blue Shield of North Carolina has offered Affordable Care Act insurance. And that means that they were the only company that was cooperating with the government to provide people who needed assistance paying for their insurance to get that insurance. Yes, Jimmy? Who can qualify for Obamacare? You must be a citizen or a national of the United States or a lawful immigrant, and you have to file your income tax return. You cannot be incarcerated. But if you have been incarcerated and are no longer incarcerated, yes, you do qualify for Obamacare. You have to have an income within a certain range. And an insider tip, you really must know what that range is before you make your application. Because if you are $1 below the required range, or then you will not be approved to get assistance or a subsidy. So you just have to have some idea of what this income range is for your particular situation. If you're on Medicaid or on Medicare, then you do not qualify for Obamacare. If you're married and living together, then you must file a joint return in order for either of you to get Obamacare. One of the qualifications, or one of the parameters that are used, is how many people are in the household. The more people are in the household, the more your income has to be in order to qualify. But also, the more people in the household, the more subsidy you're likely to get. When the question is asked on the application, and this is just an insider tip, we don't want to put that too much on a slide. But when the question is asked is how many people are in your household, the answer is not how many people actually live with you. The answer is how many people are on your tax return. That's what is considered your household. If you enroll in a plan offered through the healthcare.gov, it's also called the marketplace or the exchange. So healthcare.gov is the website that the government uses to house all of the people who are on Obamacare or who have Affordable Care Act insurance. It's also called the marketplace, and it's also called the exchange, but that is all the same thing, healthcare.gov. Jimmy? Here is a chart, and you can pull this chart up by Googling 2020 federal poverty level guidelines. This chart shows, you see under household size, that's how many people are in the household. And as I just said, that household consists of just the number of people that are on your income tax return. So if you have one person in the household and that person makes $12,000, $12,760, at least $12,760, then they qualify for Obamacare. So you can go all the way up to as much as, I'm just staying with one person, as much as $51,000. So people who make, with one person in the household, between $12,760 and $51,040 all qualify to get some assistance to pay for their health care, to get a subsidy. The less money you make, the more subsidy assistance you will receive. The more, so if you are making, you're a single person and you are making $50,000, your subsidy will be very low. If you are a single person and you are making $12,760, your subsidy will be very high. And when I say very high, it will probably cover all of your premium. So you would not have to pay a premium at all. And your doctor's visits would cost about $5. And your prescription drug cost would be as low as nothing, according to what your drug is. Now let's look at 4 people in the household, mother, a father, 2 children. You must make at least $26,200, and that's everybody who is working in the household, everybody who is working, who is on your tax return. Their combined income must be at least $26,200, and it cannot exceed $103,000. All of within that range, that total range, there is some subsidy assistance that will be provided. Jimmy? Enrolling in the marketplace. Perhaps the very best thing to do to enroll in the marketplace is to work with a certified, qualified agent, insurance agent. We have a team of people that we work with to refer individuals who have an interest in enrolling or need to enroll. And we can always make a referral for you, because the agent that you work with must not only be licensed with the insurance company that will be providing, and these are private insurance companies that will be providing the insurance, but that they also must have been certified by the federal government, and it's a pretty extensive certification process, must be certified to assist you with the enrollment. Some people are able, I know that Kim was able to go directly to healthcare.gov and follow their instructions and get enrolled. Or you could call the marketplace, and we've provided a number here. But the most sure way is to work with a certified agent that has done this multiple times and knows some of the other insider tips and advantages that will assist you to get the maximum subsidy that is allowable for you. Jimmy? Just provided some contact information. You can contact us at a hotline in 24 hours or by email.
Okay, well, thank you, Ms. Jones, for the information. And I just wanted to ask, maybe someone else has some comments or questions, but what's the primary message that you just want everyone to understand?
Very simple message. If you or someone you know has lost their health insurance because they lost their job health insurance, they may be able to get health insurance, affordable health insurance, through the marketplace. That is the primary message.
Okay. Does any of the other masterminds have any questions or comments or questions for Ms. Jones?
I have a comment. Ms. Jones was very, very helpful for me as I obtained my insurance for medical insurance, and it was a very quick process. She's exactly right. Everything depends on your income tax and how much money even you're going to predict to make, and that affects about how it comes back with credits. It came back instantly once I hit the submit button. It came back instantly with a results letter for me. It told me exactly what the amount of credits that I had. That actually was able to put my doctor's information, so they could tell me exactly, even my medicine. It could tell me exactly what plans, and then all the plans came up, so I could pick and choose which plan best fit for me. So it's a very quick process. I was very impressed by it, actually, and I just want to thank you, Sandy, for all your help on Saturday with that. So.
Yes, you're certainly welcome. And that reminds me, as Lafayette has just reminded me also, that we're talking about a national opportunity, not just North Carolina. Kim, where are you located?
I am in Carmel, Indiana.
Yeah, so for every state, there is an opportunity. And healthcare.gov can take you to whatever state you are in.
Okay. Well, thank you. What we're going to do is we always try to.
Sorry, Jimmy. I had a quick question. Sorry.
One last question.
I did the raise hand thing. Maybe you guys can't see that. Ms. Jones, I thought that the enrollment for Marketplace had a deadline. Can you still utilize the marketplace.gov tool after the deadline is passed?
Thank you so much for asking that question.
Yes.
SEP, that's what special enrollment period. You can use this special enrollment period 60 days, within 60 days after you lose your insurance, or within 60 days before you lose your insurance. You can get a special enrollment period. So, and that's already in the law. It does not have to be passed by anybody else. It's already done.
Right now.
And people are not being told this. Yeah.
So the only people who can use the SEP are folks who fall within the 60 days before or after. Someone who maybe didn't have it to begin with or didn't have it for a year, they're not going to be eligible to use the tool until next enrollment period?
That's exactly right.
Okay.
And the enrollment period is November 1st through December 15. November 1st through December 15. And when you enroll during that period, your insurance does not start until the following January.
But this is
question. Hi. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Yes. Question regarding self-employed individuals. I work with a lot of cosmetologists and self-employed, but how would this apply to them?
They will not have a special enrollment period because they cannot lose their employer insurance because they're self-employed. However, they certainly can get assistance and they can get ACA insurance for next year during the open enrollment period.
low cost.
At very low cost.
And then when you say ACA, what does that actually mean? That acronym, ACA.
Affordable Care Act.
Oh, Affordable Care Act. Okay. Thank you so much, Sandy. Thank you so much.
Well, what we're going to do at this time, we went a little bit over, but the information was really good. And again, I want to thank Ms. Jones for providing this information this evening. But we always try to close out around at 9, but we'll leave the lines open if you have any additional questions or comments or want to interact with one another. So we just always ask if someone would mind closing us out. Michelle, are you still on the line?
I am, Jimmy.
Okay, please do.
Okay. Lord God, we just come before you. We thank you for tonight. Thank you for the group that continues to gather on this call, Lord, to be empowered and educated and connected, Lord Jesus. I just pray that you would just unify us under your umbrella, Lord. Thank you for the information that we got tonight about healthcare insurance. It's just so needful to empower ourselves with good information, to equip ourselves. There's more tools in our toolbox that we can use. So I just pray that your spirit would go out with each one of us. I pray that your glory would rest on each one of us. I pray that we would be submitted to your will and your guidance. And I just, we thank you for this group. Thank you for Jimmy for leading us and for being diligent and showing massive determination. And I know he puts in a lot of work into this, and we thank you for him, Lord. And we just close this out, and we look forward to next week, Lord. Go with each one of us by your Spirit. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. And thank you so much. But again, like I said, we're going to leave the lines open. And I just want to thank all of you as well for calling in, and just encourage everyone to tell someone, invite a friend to the next week's meeting. Next week, we've got a young man out of Atlanta that's going to be talking about SEO, search engine optimization, to help people find you on the internet.